Cork and Limerick, so 217 to 22 points. Now, Robbie O'Flynn dislocated his ankle, but hopefully it's not all that bad, that he'll be back sooner rather than later. Probably he's going to be out for a few weeks anyway. But when you saw that and you saw the stretcher coming out, the game stopped up for so long, I think everyone was thinking this could be a season ender for a player who I didn't think he had a brilliant first half, but by God, he was doing some stuff in the second half.
Yeah, he's becoming one of Cork's most important players now at this stage. He's probably their best player last year, even when they were playing poorly. He just has an ability. He just has an ability to get on ball now and get key scores as well. Like as you say, wasn't particularly influential in the first half the other day. Then he comes up and delivers that goal with just a brilliant finish. Would have been interesting. I wonder would it have went in if Nicky Quaid was in there. That's just my own point of view. And then obviously he spread that ball across for Declan Dalton's goal as well, which was, can I just say, there was so many things I liked about Declan Dalton's goal. First, the ground stroke, which I think in around the goals, I think it's lethal. I think as a forward, it's lethal because the keeper is just not ready. You know when you might get a break off a full back, and it's just, if you whip it, sometimes I think it's just there to happen, and there's a kind of an air of unexpectancy to it now. People aren't expecting it. But Horgan makes a run towards the ball, and he's not actually gesturing like he's going to play the ball at all. He's not trying to play the ball at all, but he just runs in front of Richie English. So rather than Richie English getting the flick, which I think he would have if Horgan hadn't made the run, he buys Declan Dalton half a second just to get the pull on the ball, ends up in the back of the net. This is a real game of two half jobs from Cork. The first half, they didn't engage. They didn't want to get involved in any of the physical confrontations. The second half, it was the exact opposite. They squeezed up on Limerick. Huggy came back and got a block in around his own 45, which you don't see too often. And there was big turnovers, big hits. That's probably something to do with maybe Limerick tiring somewhat as well, I would say too. But Cork just delivered completely different display in the second half. And I'd give out about Cork a bit, obviously, as you well know. But I'd love to jar that second half, put it in a bottle. And if they could produce that the whole time, I think that's one of the few, that and making sure that they have that solid spine in defence. And I think they definitely have a 6 at this stage. And Owen Downey definitely impressed that at number 3, which is funny, kind of fighting out for a spot with his brother. But
sure, in goals, 2 brothers are fighting it out as well,
yeah,
the Collins brothers.
It's nuts, isn't it? I'd love to jar that second half with Cork and just say, lads, this is what you need to do every day, because if they do that every day, they're a match for anybody on any day.
Well, do you want to put it in a jar or a bottle? You don't seem to be too convinced.
Message in a bottle. You can ask you. I think I've just made up a verb. Is to jar something a verb? I'm not sure.
Well, you can jar your knee.
You can indeed, yeah. But I just listen. You could see it probably meant a lot to Cork the other night. It was the guts of 20,000 there as well. The appetite for it is unbelievable. But it would have meant probably an awful lot more to Cork the other night than it did to Limerick. But I think it's important that they didn't start off the league with it. It was 35 minutes, not great, but at least they finished with a big flourish.
Yeah, so 16-8 to Limerick at half-time, and then, very much Cork took over after the break, and a bit of a disappointing fade-out for John Kiley. Fair enough, they wouldn't have anything close to their championship team by the end of the game. But this time last year, Cork didn't play one good half against Limerick. They played 2 brilliant halves and beat them well down in the Gaelic grounds. And it didn't count for anything when they met in the championship. So how much can you read in? I'm not sure. At half-time in RT, there was talk about should Cork push up and have a go or whatever. But they pushed up in the All-Ireland final in 2021 and they got absolutely filleted. Now, when I was looking at them in the first half here, I was like, is the issue that the forward line isn't really built for working hard? Now, there's some great forwards, or there's some good players in there. And I thought Brian Roach is somebody who stuck out to me. I thought he was very good in terms of his work rate as the game wore on. But is Conor Lahan the sort of player that's going to physically impose himself? Is Cormac Boasang? It's not really Declan Dalton's game. It's not really Patrick Horgan's game. So then you've got Roach and Robbie O'Flynn, who probably can work their socks off and at pace for 70 minutes. So I was looking at it and I was like, geez, I'm not really sure how this, that forward line to me, picking that forward line, I wouldn't see that working in the championship against Limerick, because we have to measure everything against how will that go against Limerick these days? I think Lehane, like we said about Ireland earlier, I think Lehane needs to start doing a little bit more in these games. Like sometimes we see flashes of it. This really wasn't his day, and like we always talk to how talented he is, so we're not questioning that at all. But really wasn't a good performance. Patrick Horgan scored 10 points, 6 of those from place balls. Some really good moments in this game. O'Flynn won one, and Dalton a goal. Owen Downey, like you said, he was one of the scorers. Plenty of lads hit a point each for Cork. For Limerick, Reedy, he scored 8 place balls. Grode Hegarty. Now, is the talk that Grode Hegarty was the one who was getting booed on the way off rather than Cian Lynch getting booed coming in?
I would have said so, just because he's kind of a divisive player. Absolute lunacy from fans to be booing a player going off in the league, though, isn't it? Or booing a player come on. It's just, I know Tomás Mulcahy obviously commented on Twitter about it. He just said it was, an embarrassing, really. And it is. It's absolutely ridiculous.
But is it a bit of crack? Like, I mean, I'm not sure the motivations of different people when they do it, but is it just a bit of crack?
Oh, I don't know. It's not something I like to see at all, to be honest with you. It was quite prolonged, I thought. I don't know, like you talking about like when someone misses a 9-darter in darts and they start booing them, like that kind of crack.
Well, no, not quite like that, but like they're booing and they're like, obviously they don't like getting pummeled by this player in all the big matches as he continues to do, but they're not really all that serious about it.
Yeah, I don't know. I just wouldn't be a fan of it now myself at all. I don't know. You don't know. I wouldn't give anyone the benefit of the doubt in that regard, to be honest with you.
Yeah, okay. Well, Cork supporters are awful sour anyway, says One Stop Auto. Cork and Kilkenny fans like a boo, says Adrian McGrath. The way punditry should be, Richard. Actually, I'm not sure what that relates to. So is there anything else you want to say about this game? Like, I mean, Pat Ryan said he demands goals. He goes, if we want to be doing anything this year, we have to be getting 3 or 4 goals in every match. We got 2 today, and we'd like to be getting another one if we can. So, like, they did it really up the work rate in the second half and maybe flooded the middle that little bit more. But it's really hard to know after that game. Was that more about Limerick not having their frontline players, or was it more about Cork just finding something at half time and being a little bit inspired after the break?
Yeah, by the end of it, I suppose Hannon was off. I think Hannon had a finger injury coming off. Hegarty came off as well. I think that was more, I would say that was probably preordained maybe before the game that he was going to come off. Cian Lynch has some head of hair in him too. Like, it's literally like there's little red locks flying out through the helmet.
Well, himself too. And Tom Morrissey have a fair old battle going with the hair.
They do, is right. I don't think Limerick would have had a lot of kind of new faces finishing out that game. Interesting. I understand that John Kiley has trimmed some fat in his squad, and I think of the names that are gone, I believe Pat Ryan is gone, Robbie Hanley, Darren O'Connell, Brian O'Grady, and Conor O'Grady were the 5 names that I had heard from someone very close to the scene. So Pat Ryan would be a big one if he is gone, because he's obviously was absent last year when they won the All-Ireland, but has generally been a really good impact sub for them. Obviously scored that goal in extra time in the All-Ireland semi-final against Cork in 2018. So looks like he's gone from the squad. But there's a lot of new fellas in there.
Your Kieran Barrys, your Adam Englishes, your Fergal O'Connors, your Donegal O'Donnells, like they're Shane O'Brien as well has been getting his chance also.
Donegal O'Donnell was only in and he had a point put over the bar off Owen Downey, a lovely one off his right, and it looks like he's continued his Monaleen form. Jamie Powers in there for Monaleen as well. Like they've got lots of new talent coming up as well.
Like Adam English, I think is a very exciting prospect. Probably wasn't his game this time, but I think there's more to come.
I don't like the over-the-shoulder shooting is the one thing I don't like. And I don't think Limerick management would like. They want lads shooting on the front foot where possible.
But Seamus Flanagan has made a career out of shooting kind of half over the shoulder on his left-hand side, wheeling around from the 45.
Okay, now he's probably a bit of an exception, I would say. But maybe, yeah. But
so Limerick can't stop shooting over the shoulder and doing it well, is what we've now come to the conclusion.
Well, Hegarty never shoots over the shoulder. Tom Morrissey always shoots on the front foot as well. You'd say the same for Kyle Hayes. They always shoot on the front. But I understand where you're coming from. Those 2 lads you mentioned have as much credit in the bank as you like. I just remember seeing English against Clare last year. It was in the last league game. I think it was in the last league game. I just remember throwing it up and getting blocked down. And I remember thinking, Jesus, they won't like this. I just think they play percentages. Connacht is a numbers man. They play percentages, and that's a lower percentage shot. I thought Colin Coughlin was good going forward. I would have a worry about him going backwards and when he's put on the back foot. But there's plenty of new talent there to be bedded in.
Yeah, Oisin O'Reilly didn't really happen for him. Seen him play some great games for Kilmallock in the last couple of years. And then Seamus Flanagan was the one, for the most part, playing closest to goal. You know, Aaron Gallan obviously isn't there at the moment. I'm not sure it worked perfectly for him being the closest man to goal. Maybe it'll be a bit of a bedding in period. He's obviously been really impressive over the last number of years, so you wouldn't back against him really taking over in that role. But Owen Downey did pretty well, as you'd mentioned already.
He got a point off him as well, didn't he?
Yeah. So that was pretty impressive.